Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, is it true that a software developer's skills aren't tested until they get outside of their own comfort zone? So let's get into it. Well, it depends a little bit on your comfort zone, I suppose, but what I can say is that it is absolutely true that there are varying degrees of challenge and, well, varying degrees of challenges that you're going to face as a software developer, and this is one of the toughest things to understand in this industry, and it's why I urge people so much to make sure that they get a first as ideally as quick as possible get into the right company as a junior, because if you don't, you might actually find that you go down a route which is going to leave you worse off. Let me explain. So at this point, I can't even remember how many CVs and how many people I've been part of interviewing and things of this nature, and met people both in real life and on the internet who showcase very clearly that there is depending on what area of programming you go into, there's a fairly large gap in the knowledge that they have, and some of them don't even actually realize it until they do something more serious. Now, an example is that if you, in the beginning, learning programming in of itself is going to be a big challenge, because programming it's pretty tricky, at least in the beginning. It gets easier, don't worry. Anywho, once you get over that initial hump, you're going to start working on serious projects, and a lot of the people that, me and my coworkers train, who come into my specific company, and I've also had in previous jobs where this has been true, these people who really don't know how it works when you work on larger projects usually come from a background of either freelancing, working at a small consultancy, or on a small project by project basis. The lifespan of the work that they do is usually measured in months, maybe a year. That size of project is it's very unlikely that you will face the sort of challenges that you will face at, say, a company like Google, or like one of the bigger companies, or even more serious product companies, because the projects at that scale they're larger, there are more people involved, you work as a team because you simply have to. There's too much going on for you to work as a completely isolated person for the most part, and these sorts of things affect the considerations that you have to make in order to produce good software. It's quite a lot different from working with these smaller applications. If most of what you do is, say, work with WordPress or things like these off-the-shelf solutions, odds are that you've never really had to face what it means to run a larger system. And when it comes to programming, it's pretty much the same sort of thing as going to the gym. If you only use light weights, you will be very good at using those weights, but if somebody asks you to lift something heavier, you won't have the strength to actually do it, because you never pushed yourself to the point where you had to kind of deal with that sort of situation, or deal with those like a heavier load. So I don't know whether or not that is going to be counted as you going outside of your comfort zone, but it is an indicator in my world that what a person's skill level is going to be if I simply look at the sort of projects they have been working on and the tools that they use. It comes with experience. You kind of start to get this gut feeling or sixth sense for people who are going to be very, very productive immediately in a larger project, and the people who are going to require quite a bit of training. And usually the people who require a fair bit of training are the people who work on these smaller projects, because they simply don't understand things, how they need to think about things when things go up and become like larger scale, if you will. So what I want you to take away from this is that it's absolutely true that a programmer's skill doesn't actually get tested until they work on larger projects, because the fact of the matter is that the way that you write software at small scale is fundamentally at least very often, different from how you write it at large scale, because the considerations are simpler. You can build it almost any way you want, because at large scale, at small scale, almost everything works regardless of what you pick. But when things go up to a larger scale, you need to start considering things such as legacy. You need to think about migration strategies, scaling issues, and not just in the code itself, but in the organization, handling stakeholders, all kinds of other stuff that comes with working with a lot of people and within a context where the stakes are higher, and they usually are at larger companies. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. Have a great day.